Okay, so when you think about the end of World War II, right, what two cities immediately pop into your head? Hiroshima and Nagasaki, of course. But what if I told you there was another one? A city that was literally on the brink of atomic annihilation, and its story has been almost completely forgotten.
So, here's a question for you. Besides Hiroshima and Nagasaki, can you think of another Japanese city that was a primary target for the atomic bomb? I mean, a place that was just a roll of the dice away, a coin toss, from sharing their exact same fate?
That city was Niigata. And today, we're going to uncover the incredible story of why this place was in the crosshairs, and, just as importantly, the other war, this quiet, desperate war its citizens were fighting on the ground.
Let's get into it. How did a city that, most of us have probably never heard of in this context, how did it become one of America's most top-secret, high-priority targets?
So take a look at this. This is an actual declassified target list from May 1945. And, yep, look right there at number 3, Niigata. I mean, this wasn't some backup plan, It was a primary objective, listed right alongside the cities that are household names. It was considered a strategic target of the absolute highest order.
So the big question is, of course, why? What on earth made Niigata such a strategic bullseye for the military planners? What did it have that they wanted?
Well, it turns out Niigata pretty much checked every single box. It was the #1 port on the Sea of Japan, a critical lifeline for resources coming in from Asia. It had the Nitsu oil fields, which made it Japan's top domestic oil producer. I mean, it was literally fueling the war machine. On top of that, it had key factories churning out aluminum for those famous Zero fighters. And here's the really chilling part. Just like Hiroshima, it was basically untouched by the firebombing raids. That made it a perfect, clean slate to measure the full devastating power of the new bomb.
And get this, even before the A-bomb was on the table, Niigata was already under a totally different kind of siege. It was a key target of something called Operation Starvation. This was a massive campaign where B-29s dropped thousands and thousands of naval mines to blockade Japan's most important harbors. The goal was simple and brutal: cut off all shipping and literally starve the country into submission. And Niigata's port? It was effectively sealed shut.
Okay, so if it was so strategically important, why wasn't it bombed? The answer is almost unbelievable. It really just comes down to bad luck for the military planners and pure dumb luck for the city. Turns out Niigata was right at the very edge of a B-29's flight range, and on top of that, it had notoriously bad cloudy weather. The pilots just couldn't get a clear visual. So in the end, it was fate, in the form of clouds and fuel gauges, that saved the city.
But here's the thing. While Niigata was spared from atomic fire, its people were already in the middle of a desperate, desperate battle. This wasn't a war against planes in the sky. No, it was a war against an enemy that was already inside their homes. That enemy was hunger. And this really shows you the brutal reality of it. An adult needs, about 2,100 calories a day just to function. The official government ration, it provided less than 800. This wasn't just a little shortfall, it was a massive chasm. You simply could not survive on the official rations alone. It was a mathematical impossibility.
And having money didn't help one bit. With insane wartime inflation and just a total lack of goods, the currency became pretty much meaningless. As one person who lived through it recalled, their money was like scrap paper. You can't eat money, right? The shops were bare. The entire official economy had just completely broken down.
So, if the government couldn't feed you and money couldn't buy you food, how in the world did people survive? Well, they had to get creative. They created their own economy, their own system, a whole new playbook for survival born out of pure, desperate necessity. And this survival playbook had a few key moves. First, you'd barter whatever possessions you had for food. Next, you'd grew your own, on any little patch of dirt you could find. They were called wartime farms. Then you'd forage, looking for anything edible out in the wild. And finally, as a last resort, you'd have to risk the black market to try and buy some yami mai, or hidden rice, from farmers. This barter system, it became the real economy. You'd have people from the city walking for miles and miles into the countryside, carrying their family treasures. We're talking beautiful silk kimonos, furniture, clocks, and they weren't trading them for money. They were trading them for rice and sweet potatoes. Their most precious heirlooms were being exchanged for the most basic food to stay alive.
And when you actually break down a person's real diet back then, the numbers are just staggering. The official rations, they made up barely a third of what people were actually eating.
The vast majority of their food, we're talking nearly 2/3, came from their own efforts, from bartering, from their little gardens, from foraging. With the government basically unable to provide, survival became this personal, relentless, daily struggle.
So, when you put it all together, you realize the story of Niigata in 1945 isn't just about a city that got lucky and avoided a bomb. No, it's this incredibly powerful story of human resilience in the face of a total system collapse.
Just think about those final months of the war. You can see how all these threats just converged on the city. In March, Operation Starvation begins, and the mines start choking their harbor. In May, they're officially put on the A-bomb target list. They were literally facing annihilation from the sea and from the sky, right up until the very end of the war. It was a crisis stacked on top of a crisis.
And that really brings us to the heart of it all. For the people of Niigata, the real war, the one they fought every single day, wasn't against an external enemy dropping bombs from the sky. No, it was fought in their kitchens, in their makeshift gardens, against a quiet, creeping, and completely desperate enemy: starvation. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other histories of war are out there, totally hidden beneath the big headlines of battles and bombs? How many of these stories aren't really about the fight to win a war at all, but about the silent, invisible, daily struggle just to survive?